The quiet history of herbal remedies is written in the tangled roots of our oldest forests. Let us gently walk through this ancient garden of knowledge together. It is a profound truth that every single culture in human history has developed a complex system of plant medicine. From the dense, humid rainforests of the Amazon to the windswept, icy tundras of Siberia, there has never been a tribe or civilization that did not look to the earth for healing. As you settle in to rest and listen to these relaxing facts, you might take a brief moment to gently click the like or subscribe button, silently joining us on this quiet journey through time. This connection to the green world goes much deeper than conscious thought or recorded history. It begins in the blood, a biological instinct shared by almost all living things. If you have ever watched a house cat or a dog instinctively seek out and chew on specific rough grasses when they feel unwell, you have witnessed the primal origins of herbalism firsthand. This behavior, scientifically known as zoopharmacognosy, suggests that the knowledge of which leaves soothe the stomach or which saps clear the skin is not merely learned, but felt intuitively. Great apes, our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, have been observed carefully selecting specific bitter leaves to treat infections, passing this silent wisdom down through generations without a single spoken word. Therefore, we can say with certainty that herbalism actually predates humanity itself. Long before humans developed the capacity to write down recipes on papyrus scrolls or press them into clay tablets, our distant ancestors were already gathering flowers for aid. Anthropologists and archaeologists have found fascinating evidence suggesting that early hominids and even Neanderthals selected specific medicinal plants tens of thousands of years ago. At the famous Shanidar Cave in modern-day Iraq, a Neanderthal burial site revealed strangely high concentrations of pollen from yarrow, cornflower, and hollyhock. These are not random weeds, but potent plants still used today for their therapeutic properties. This discovery fundamentally changed how we view our ancient cousins, proving they possessed a sophisticated, observant understanding of the flora around them. It paints a beautiful picture of a prehistoric world where the boundary between food and medicine was non-existent, and where survival depended on a deep, intimate relationship with the seasons and the soil. Perhaps the most poignant evidence of this ancient relationship lies deep within the Zagros Mountains of modern-day Iraq. Here, in the famous Shanidar Cave, archaeologists uncovered something that fundamentally shifted our view of our ancient cousins and their connection to the healing power of nature. In the grave of a Neanderthal known to researchers as Shanidar 4, soil samples were analyzed that dated back roughly 60,000 years. What the scientists found was not just the dust of ages, but clumps of microscopic pollen in concentrations that could not have occurred by chance, suggesting that this individual had been laid to rest on a woven bed of boughs and carefully arranged flowers. But these were not chosen merely for their beauty or their scent. The specific plants identified in the pollen analysis, yarrow, cornflower, bachelor's button, St. Barnaby's thistle, ragwort, grape hyacinth, hollyhock, and woody horsetail, are all known today for their potent medicinal properties. Yarrow, for instance, has been used for millennia across various cultures to staunch bleeding and treat wounds, acting as a powerful astringent. The roots of the hollyhock have been used to soothe inflammation, while other blooms found in the cave possess diuretic and stimulant properties. It suggests that the mourners were gathering a specific pharmacopoeia from the surrounding hillsides, selecting the very plants they likely used in life to treat the ailments of their kin.
Imagine the scene in the flickering firelight of the cave 60,000 years ago. We often think of prehistoric life as brutal and short, purely focused on survival, yet this flower burial evokes a sense of tenderness and intentional care that feels strikingly modern. It implies that long before we wrote down our histories, there was a passed-down wisdom, a silent understanding that the earth provided comfort for the body as well as the soul. It forces us to wonder if you have ever walked through a field of wildflowers and felt a strange, instinctive familiarity with the blooms, perhaps a ghostly echo of this ancient knowledge that resides in our DNA. This expertise predates the written word by tens of thousands of years. It was a knowledge held in the hands and the nose, taught through gesture and observation. A mother showing a child which leaf soothed a sting or which root settled a stomach created an unbroken chain of herbal wisdom that stretched across the ice ages. As the glaciers receded and the climate warmed, this oral tradition began to solidify into something more permanent. As humanity moved from the nomadic existence of the hunter-gatherer to the settled life of the farmer, our relationship with plants grew even more complex. We began to cultivate the wild things, bringing the medicine garden closer to the hearth, marking the transition from the silent archaeological record to the dawn of recorded history. And nowhere is this dawn more striking than in the fertile lands between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. Here, in the cradle of civilization known as Mesopotamia, the silent knowledge of the shaman was finally etched into permanence. Around 3,000 years before the Common Era, Sumerian scribes began to press triangular reeds into soft, wet clay, creating the distinctive wedge-shaped marks of cuneiform. Among their records of grain harvests and kingly decrees, they left us something truly extraordinary, representing the world's oldest known medical prescriptions. Imagine the dusty air of a Sumerian temple, where a healer is carefully cataloging the gifts of the earth. These clay tablets reveal a sophisticated understanding of botanical properties that feels surprisingly familiar even today. They speak of myrrh, that fragrant resinous gum derived from the comifera tree, prized not just for its rich balsamic scent, but for its powerful antiseptic qualities. They recorded the use of thyme, growing low and wild in the sun-baked soil, capturing its earthy, sharp aroma to treat respiratory ailments long before modern science identified its active compounds. But these ancient texts offer more than just a shopping list of ingredients. They provide a window into the very first pharmaceutical laboratories. The tablets describe with meticulous care the methods of preparation that transformed a raw plant into a healing agent.
We read of roots being scrutinized and then pulverized into fine dust, of leaves being boiled in copper cauldrons to extract their essential oils, and of seeds being steeped in beer or river water to create potent medicinal drafts. The Sumerians understood that the form of the remedy mattered as much as the ingredient itself, detailing how to strain mixtures through cloth or mix plant powders with animal fats to create soothing salves for the skin. Yet, to the Sumerian mind, the physical preparation was only half the cure. In this ancient world, there was no harsh line dividing the scientific from the spiritual, or the medicinal from the magical. A healer in Babylon or did not view a fever solely as a biological malfunction, but often as a spiritual intrusion. Therefore, the application of a willow bark poultice was frequently accompanied by an incantation, a rhythmic chant designed to coax the spirit of the plant to cooperate with the body of the patient. The medicine worked because it was imbued with power from both the soil and the gods.
This holistic view of healing, where the tangible and the intangible were woven together, would eventually drift westward across the hot sands, carried by traders and travelers until it reached the banks of another great river, the Nile. Here, civilization rose and fell with the rhythmic flooding of the waters, and medicine evolved into a highly organized profession, blending the mystical with the methodical. The Egyptians were prolific writers, and their legacy comes to us on fragile rolls of papyrus preserved by the dry desert air. The most famous of these, the Ebers Papyrus, serves as a monumental catalog of ancient medical knowledge. Dating back to around 1550 BC, this single scroll extends for 20 meters and contains a staggering 877 distinct recipes and prescriptions. It acts as a window into a world where a physician might treat a migraine, a crocodile bite, or a digestive ailment with the same seriousness, drawing from a pantry that would rival any modern apothecary. Within this vast pharmacopoeia, certain ingredients held a status that bordered on the sacred. Garlic and onions, for instance, were far more than simple culinary staples. They were revered for their endurance-boosting properties. It is recorded that the laborers who built the Great Pyramids consumed vast quantities of garlic daily to maintain their strength and ward off illness, a practice so vital that interruptions in the garlic supply could incite strikes. Its cooling gel was harvested not only to soothe the burns and wounds of the living, but also to preserve the bodies of the dead, while queens were said to use it to enhance their beauty, recognizing its power to rejuvenate the skin. The air of ancient Egypt was heavy with the scent of aromatics, blurring the line between medicine and worship. Frankincense and myrrh, resinous tears collected from gnarled trees, were burned in temples to purify the air and please the gods, but they were also ground into pastes to treat infections. This obsession with scent and preservation reached its apex in the mummification process, a procedure that was, in essence, the ultimate herbal remedy designed to grant eternal life. The body was packed with cassia, cinnamon, and aromatic oils, transforming the physical form into something incorruptible. These spices reveal another layer of Egyptian medicine, its global reach. Many of the key ingredients found in their remedies, such as cinnamon and sandalwood, were not native to the Nile Valley. They arrived via vast trade networks, carried by caravans that traversed harsh deserts and ships that navigated dangerous seas. This early global trade for medicine meant that a priest in Thebes might heal a patient using bark harvested from a forest thousands of miles away. The administration of these remedies fell to the Sunu, the priest-physician. In the Egyptian worldview, there was no separation between the physical body and the spiritual realm. A healer had to be fluent in both the science of plants and the art of magic, known as hika. When a priest-physician crushed herbs into a poultice, he would simultaneously recite incantations, believing that the spirit of the plant needed to be awakened to fight the demon causing the disease. This dual approach solidified the role of the apothecary as a guardian of both the body and the soul, a tradition that would deeply influence the Greek scholars who came later to study at their feet. While the apothecaries of the Nile were chanting over their jars, a silent testimony to even older, rougher knowledge was waiting to be found high above the tree line. In 1991, the retreating glaciers of the Utsal Alps revealed a traveler who had been sleeping in the ice for over 5,000 years. We call him Utsi, and he offers us the most intimate glimpse we have ever had into the medical reality of the Stone Age. When he was found, he was fully equipped for a journey, but the most intriguing part of his gear was what archaeologists have come to call his personal first aid kit. Attached to his clothing were 2 pieces of a specific mushroom known as the birch polypore, threaded carefully onto leather strips. At first, these might be tinder for starting fires, but chemical analysis told a much more complex story. This specific fungus contains oils that are toxic to intestinal parasites and act as a natural antibiotic. When scientists examined Ötzi's remains, they discovered he was suffering from a severe case of whipworm. He wasn't carrying these bitter-tasting funguses for food or ritual. He was carrying a precise prescription. He knew exactly what was making him sick, and he knew that the white, rubbery fungus growing on birch trees was the only thing that could purge him from the parasites in his system. This changes how we view prehistoric herbalism entirely. It wasn't just superstition or lucky guesses, it was a survival science honed by generations of trial and error. Ötzi also bore over 60 small tattoos, lines of soot rubbed into incisions located precisely at points that correspond to modern acupuncture sites for treating back and joint pain, afflictions his skeleton showed he suffered from. He was a walking encyclopedia of pain management, utilizing a combination of minor surgery and fungal medicine to keep moving through the snow. It is a stark, impressive reminder that before there were written texts, there was the desperate practical need to survive.
As we descend from the freezing, wind-swept peaks of the Alps, leaving the Iceman to his rest, we travel south toward the warmer, sun-drenched coasts of the Mediterranean, where this rugged folk wisdom was about to blossom into a celebrated science. It is here, among the olive groves and marble columns of ancient Greece, that the story of herbal medicine undergoes a profound transformation. For centuries, illness was viewed through the veil of superstition, often seen as a punishment from the gods or a curse from the spirits. But on the sunlit island of Kos, a physician named Hippocrates began to look at the world differently. He taught that the body was a reflection of the natural world, governed not by divine caprice, but by observable cause and effect. Under his guidance, the gathering of herbs shifted from a mystical ritual into a disciplined study of nature, marking the dawn of rational medicine. This new approach required a system, a way to organize the chaotic abundance of the wild. The Greeks perceived the world through the balance of elements, classifying plants by their inherent qualities: hot, cold, dry, and wet. A fever was seen as a fire within the body, a condition of excess heat and dryness, and so it was treated with herbs classified as cooling and moistening, such as cucumber or violet. It was a logical, poetic framework that turned the apothecary's shelf into a balanced ecosystem. A physician did not merely guess, they carefully observed the patient's complexion and temperature, selecting a root or leaf that possessed the exact opposite nature to the ailment, seeking always to restore the body's golden mean. Among these trusted remedies was the bark of the white willow tree. Greek physicians noted that chewing on this bitter, fibrous bark eased the aches of childbirth and cooled the burning heat of fevers. It is a remarkable connection across time, for we now know this bark contains salicin, the chemical ancestor of our modern aspirin. Imagine a physician in a white tunic walking along a riverbank where the willows dip their branches into the water, stripping a piece of bark to soothe a headache, unaware that he is holding the precursor to the most widely used drug in human history. It was a triumph of empirical observation, proving that the earth itself held the keys to pain relief. As the centuries turned and the center of power shifted to Rome, this Greek knowledge was inherited and expanded by the monumental figure of Galen.
While Hippocrates often favored simplicity, Galen was a master of complexity. He believed that some ailments required powerful, multifaceted treatments. He began compounding elaborate mixtures, sometimes combining dozens of ingredients into a single medicine to attack a disease from multiple angles. These complex preparations became known as Galenicals, a term still used today to describe medicines created directly from natural ingredients. He was a meticulous pharmacist, recording the exact weights and measures needed to create the perfect theriac, a panacea believed to cure all poisons. Galen's voluminous writings became the ultimate authority, casting a long shadow that would stretch for over 1,000 years. Yet as the lights of the classical world began to dim in Europe, the torch of botanical knowledge did not go out. Instead, it was carried eastward, traveling along the dusty trade routes toward the great libraries of the Islamic Golden Age, where it would be preserved, translated, and refined under a new sky. While the scholars of the Islamic Golden Age were preserving the wisdom of the West, a completely distinct and equally profound tradition had already been flourishing for millennia under the skies of East Asia. In the verdant valleys and mist-shrouded peaks of ancient China, the study of herbal remedies was not merely a medical pursuit, but a philosophical one, deeply entwined with the rhythms of the universe itself. Before we wander further into these ancient bamboo forests, I would love to know what simple herbal comfort anchors you to the present moment. Perhaps you have a favorite tea blend or a nostalgic scent that signals to your mind that it is finally time to rest. Do share your stories in the comments, as these personal connections to plants are the true thread of history. In this Eastern tradition, a plant is never viewed as just a collection of chemical parts, but rather as a living expression of qi, the vital energy that flows through all existence. The ancient masters taught that just as the day moves into night, the properties of plants oscillate between the fundamental forces of yin and yang. A healer in this era did not simply attack a sickness, but sought to restore a lost equilibrium within the body's landscape. They recognized that some herbs, like the pale root of American ginseng or the leaves of peppermint, carry a cooling yin energy, perfect for soothing the heat of a fever or calming a restless, overactive mind. Conversely, roots like dry ginger or cinnamon possess a warming yang essence, capable of reigniting the internal fire when the body feels cold and sluggish. It is a system of poetry as much as pathology, where the body is viewed as a garden and herbs are the gentle weather patterns that shift the climate within. The roots of this profound knowledge are shrouded in the mists of mythology, centered around the legendary figure of Shen Nong, known reverently as the divine farmer. Stories whispered through generations describe him as a being of immense compassion who sought to personally test the properties of every plant in the wild. Legend paints a vivid picture of Shen Nong walking through the prehistoric wilderness, tasting hundreds of herbs in a single day, including many poisonous ones, to determine their precise effects on the human body. Some versions of the tale even grant him a transparent belly, allowing him to visually observe how the juices of the plants moved through his internal organs, watching as they healed or harmed. Whether man or myth, the classic text attributed to him, the Shen Nong Ban Sao Jing, laid the foundation for pharmacy, categorizing herbs not just by what they cured, but by their capacity to promote longevity and spiritual lightness. Among the hundreds of botanicals cataloged in these ancient times, one stood above the rest, revered with an almost mystical awe. This was ginseng, often called the king of herbs. In Chinese, it is known as ren shen, which translates to man root, a name derived from its peculiar tendency to grow forked branches that resemble the legs and arms of a human figure. For centuries, wild ginseng was more valuable than gold, hunted in the deep, shaded forests of Manchuria.
It was believed to absorb the spirit of the earth over decades of slow, quiet growth, concentrating the soil's vitality into a potent tonic that could replenish the body's primal source energy. To find a wild root of significant age was to secure a fortune, and to consume it was thought to stave off the weariness of aging itself. This deep reverence for the plant world was not only recorded in text, but immortalized in art. The ancient herbal manuscripts of China are objects of profound visual beauty, where delicate brushstrokes of black ink capture the trailing vines and serrated leaves of medicinal plants with exquisite precision. These illustrations were often more than diagrams. They were portraits of the plants, capturing their essence on silk or bamboo paper, preserving the knowledge of the divine farmer in a format that was as pleasing to the eye as the remedies were healing to the body. From the delicate bamboo scrolls of the Yellow River Valley, our journey drifts southward, crossing the formidable snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas to land in the rich spiritual soil of India. Here, the history of herbal medicine is inscribed on dried palm leaves and preserved in ancient Sanskrit hymns known as the Vedas. While other traditions sought to banish illness, the sages of ancient India were obsessed with a different question: how to maintain a state of perfect balance before sickness ever takes hold. At the heart of this tradition lies a rhizome with a brilliant sunset yellow hue that has stained the fingers of healers for over 4,000 years. We know it today as turmeric, a staple in spice racks across the globe, but in the texts of Ayurveda, it was revered as a sacred substance long before it was analyzed in a laboratory. Modern science has since identified its active compound, curcumin, confirming what practitioners knew instinctively: that this golden root possesses a potent ability to cool the fires of inflammation within the body. It is fascinating to note that the ancients understood the concept of bioavailability without knowing the chemical formulas. They rarely prescribed turmeric in isolation. Instead, it was almost always cooked with black pepper and healthy fats like ghee. We now know that the piperine in pepper increases the body's absorption of curcumin by 2,000%. A testament to the sophistication of these early herbal formulations. If you have ever felt a sense of calm while sipping warm golden milk, you are participating in a ritual of healing that predates the Roman Empire. Deeper into the Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia, we find a root that smells faintly of the earth, and quite specifically of a horse. This herb is ashwagandha, and its name literally translates to smell of the horse, implying that consuming it imparts the strength and vitality of a stallion. Today, we classify it as an adaptogen, a substance that helps the body manage stress, but the ancient texts placed it in a special category called rasayana. This concept of rasayana is essentially the science of rejuvenation and lengthening the lifespan. Unlike a simple tonic that might boost energy for an hour, a rasayana herb like ashwagandha was believed to nourish the deep tissues, settling the mind and allowing the body to rebuild itself during rest. It speaks to a profound understanding of the nervous system, offering a grounding energy that feels like a heavy, comforting blanket for a weary mind.
This focus on grounding and balance highlights the most distinct feature of Indian herbalism, the rejection of a one-size-fits-all remedy. In this view, you cannot simply treat a headache, you must treat the person who has the headache. The philosophy suggests that every human being is a unique combination of elemental energies: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. A person with a fiery constitution might need cooling herbs like coriander or sandalwood to find balance, while a person with a cold, airy constitution might need the warming heat of ginger or cinnamon. It is a holistic approach that views the body not as a machine with broken parts, but as a garden that requires specific conditions to thrive. As centuries passed, the secrets of these roots and leaves could not be contained within the subcontinent. The air grew thick with the scent of cardamom and cloves as the great trade routes began to stretch their fingers westward. Merchants, realizing that these dried plants were worth more than their weight in gold, began to load their caravans and ships. The knowledge of the Vedas began to travel, carried along the Silk Road and across the Indian Ocean, bringing the flavors of the East to the apothecaries of Greece, Rome, and Egypt, forever changing how the world thought about medicine and flavor. In the medieval mind, there was no sharp distinction between a culinary ingredient and a life-saving drug. When kings and merchants scrambled to secure trade routes to the east, they were not merely seeking to make their banquets more palatable, but were hunting for the very essence of health itself. The desperate search for nutmeg, cloves, and pepper was, at its heart, a medical crusade. These dried seeds and curled barks were interpreted by the physicians of the time as concentrated solar energy captured in plant form, capable of heating a cold body or drying a damped constitution in accordance with the theory of the four humors. It was used to pay taxes, dowries, and rents precisely because it was the ultimate preservative. In a world without refrigeration, where the threat of spoiling food was a constant source of anxiety, spices were the only effective barrier against decay. A handful of peppercorns or cloves could halt the inevitable breakdown of organic matter, a property that medieval doctors believed would translate to the human body as well. If a clove could keep meat from rotting, the logic went, surely it could preserve a human life against the corruption of disease and age. The astronomical cost of these remedies was driven by the sheer improbability of their arrival. A single nutmeg nut, harvested on the tiny volcanic Banda Islands in Indonesia, had to survive a voyage that could last years. It would pass from a harvester's basket to a small outrigger canoe, then to a Chinese junk, across the Indian Ocean in an Arab dhow, overland by camel caravan through the scorching deserts of the Middle East, and finally onto a Venetian galley navigating the pirate-infested waters of the Mediterranean. By the time it reached an apothecary in Paris or London, it had survived shipwrecks, storms, and taxes levied at every border, making it a luxury only the aristocracy could afford.
Those who possessed these treasures used them to construct defensive barriers against sickness. This was the era of the pomander, a perforated sphere often crafted from gold or silver, worn on a chain around the waist or neck. Inside these intricate cages, the wealthy placed sponges soaked in aromatic oils or balls of paste made from musk, ambergris, rosewater, and powdered cloves. The practice was based on the concept of miasma, the belief that disease was carried by foul-smelling air. By holding a pomander to one's nose while walking through a crowded market, one was inhaling a continuous stream of herbal protection, a fragrant shield meant to purify the air before it entered the lungs.
Yet, while the spice trade built empires and fueled the age of exploration, a different kind of herbal knowledge was being cultivated in the quiet, secluded corners of Europe. Away from the clamor of the great ports and the greed of the international marketplaces, the heavy wooden doors of monasteries were closing against the chaotic world. Inside these stone sanctuaries, a rhythm of prayer and planting began to emerge, laying the groundwork for a more localized, methodical approach to healing that relied not on exotic imports, but on the soil beneath their feet. This reliance on the local earth manifested most beautifully in the creation of the herbularius, or physic garden. These were not merely patches of greenery, but highly organized sanctuaries of science and faith. Typically located near the infirmary for easy access, the gardens were laid out in rectangular grids with raised beds, allowing the infirmarian, the monk in charge of healing, to tend the plants without stepping into the mud. It is a calming image to hold in your mind, a quiet, cloistered courtyard where the air hangs heavy with the scent of fennel and rosemary, and where the chaos of the medieval world is held at bay by the orderly rows of healing herbs. Each bed was distinct, often separating the heating herbs from the cooling ones, creating a living pharmacy that mirrored the categorization of the body's humors, ensuring that a remedy for a fever was never mistaken for a cure for a chill. The monks who tended these beds were operating under the Benedictine rule, which declared that the care of the sick must rank above and before all else, so that they may truly be served as Christ. In this pursuit, they cultivated dozens of species, but few were as revered as sage. You might know it simply as a seasoning for a savory meal, but in the monastic tradition, Salvia officinalis was a panacea. The very name salvia comes from the Latin root salvare, meaning to save or to be in good health, a linguistic testament to its perceived power. It was used for everything from aiding digestion to sharpening the mind, a trusted companion in a time of medical uncertainty. I wonder if you have ever crushed a fresh sage leaf between your fingers and inhaled that dusty, earthy aroma. It is a scent that feels ancient, linking us directly back to these quiet, stone-walled gardens. Yet the garden was only half of the equation. While the infirmarian harvested leaves under the sun, other brothers sat in the cool, dimly lit scriptorium, preserving the theoretical knowledge that guided their hands. This is where the ancient texts of Dioscorides and Galen were saved from the fires of history. Day after day, monks hunched over vellum, the skin of sheep or calves prepared for writing, painstakingly copying herbal manuscripts by hand. They did not just copy words, they illuminated them, drawing intricate illustrations of plants, sometimes stylized, sometimes surprisingly accurate, allowing a reader to identify a specific root or flower. These manuscripts, known as herbals, became the standard reference works for centuries. It was a slow, meditative process where the sound of a quill scratching against parchment was the only noise, and the act of writing itself was a form of devotion, ensuring that the wisdom of the ancients did not wither away like an unwatered vine. However, this academic approach to herbalism, locked away in Latin texts and stone libraries, was not the only way people related to plants. Beyond the heavy gates of the monastery, out in the villages and the wild edges of the forest, a different tradition was alive. Here, there were no leather-bound books or organized grids. Instead, there was the green knowledge of the common people, passed down orally from mother to daughter and father to son. This was the realm of the village wise woman and the hedge witch, a title derived from the hedge that marked the boundary between the village and the wild unknown. Within that wild unknown, Early modern herbalists believed they could read the landscape like a manuscript. This philosophy, which reached its height during the 16th and 17th centuries, was known as the doctrine of signatures. It was a theological and medical concept suggesting that the Creator had stamped a visible mark or signature onto every plant to indicate its medicinal purpose. The earth was viewed as a vast pharmacy where the labels had been written in the shape, color, and texture of the leaves and roots themselves. Perhaps the most famous example of this poetic logic is the walnut. To the Renaissance eye, the walnut was a perfect mirror of the human head. The green outer husk represented the scalp, the hard inner shell mimicked the protective bone of the skull, and the convoluted, wrinkled kernel inside looked undeniably like the human brain. Therefore, according to the doctrine, walnuts were the supreme remedy for headaches, mental illness, and confusion. Modern nutritional science has since discovered that walnuts are in fact incredibly high in brain-supporting fatty acids, a coincidence that kept the theory alive for centuries. The philosophy extended to the forest floor, where the spotted leaves of the lungwort plant, or pulmonaria, grew. Because the leaves bore oval, whitish spots that resembled the texture of diseased or ulcerated lungs, healers brewed them into teas to treat chest infections, coughs, and asthma. Similarly, the bright yellow sap of the greater celandine was interpreted as a sign for treating jaundice and liver disorders based solely on the correspondence of color. Even the humble eyebright, a small flower with purple and yellow stripes resembling a blood-sought iris, became the go-to wash for failing vision. There was a comforting symmetry to this worldview. It suggested that humans belonged to the land and that the natural world was organized specifically for our benefit. It implied that for every ailment, a specific cure had been planted nearby, waiting to be recognized by an observant eye.
For instance, the willow tree grows in damp, wet soil, conditions that were thought to cause rheumatism and aching joints. Because the tree thrived in these conditions without suffering, its bark was stripped and used to treat those very pains. In this case, the signature was accurate. Willow bark contains salicin, the natural precursor to modern aspirin. However, the doctrine of signatures was not always scientifically sound. Many plants that resembled body parts were toxic or entirely ineffective, proving that nature's design was not always a direct letter to humanity. Yet this reliance on observation laid the groundwork for botany. While the learned men of the universities debated these philosophical signatures in Latin, the practical application of these herbs fell to the local experts who lived closest to the soil. These were the wise women of the villages, the practitioners who blended the high philosophy of signatures with the trial and error realities of daily survival. For centuries, the true keepers of this green knowledge were not the university scholars debating in Latin, but the women with earth under their fingernails who lived at the edge of the woods. This vast library of botanical wisdom was rarely written in ink. Instead, it was woven into the rhythm of daily life, passed down through oral tradition from grandmother to mother to daughter in an unbroken chain of whispered secrets. They knew exactly when to harvest, understanding that the potency of a leaf might change depending on whether the moon was waxing or waning, or whether the dew was still fresh upon the ground. In this world of village healers and what came to be known as kitchen witchery, there was no distinction between a weed and a medicine. Consider the dandelion, a plant now relentlessly pursued by suburban gardeners who wish to eradicate it. To the village wise woman, the dandelion was a treasure chest. Its name, dent de lion, or lion's tooth, hinted at the jagged shape of its leaves,
but its root was prized as a powerful tonic for the liver, roasting into a dark, earthy tea that cleansed the body after a long winter of heavy preserved foods. Similarly, the stinging nettle was viewed with deep respect rather than annoyance. While its touch could burn the skin, the healer knew that once dipped in boiling water, the sting vanished, leaving behind a nutrient-dense green that strengthened the blood and soothed aching joints. The cottage kitchen served as the laboratory for these remedies. Here, the air would be thick with the scent of rendering goose fat or beeswax, the base ingredients for healing salves. The rhythm of the mortar and pestle was the heartbeat of the home, grinding dried roots into powders or bruising fresh leaves to release their essential oils. It makes one wonder about the scents that defined your own childhood comfort. Perhaps there is a specific herbal aroma like lavender or chamomile that instantly makes you feel safe and ready for sleep. I would love to hear which scent brings you that sense of peace in the comments. Among the most celebrated figures of this herbal tradition was Hildegard von Bingen, a 12th century German abbess, mystic, and composer who elevated folk medicine to a divine science. She coined the term viriditas, or greening power, to describe the vital life force that flows through all of nature and humanity. Hildegard believed that herbs were the physical manifestation of this divine greening energy. In her texts, she cataloged the healing properties of hundreds of plants, recommending galanja for the heart and nutmeg for clarity of mind, often pairing her remedies with the healing vibrations of music and gemstones. Yet this golden age of greening power and village wisdom was approaching a precipice. The natural world, usually a source of bounty and cure, was about to face a darkness that no simple poultice could lift, as the trade ships from the east brought with them a silent, invisible passenger that would alter the course of human history. Long before the first sails appeared on the eastern horizon, the diverse landscapes of North America served as a vast living pharmacy for the indigenous tribes who called these lands home. While European herbalism was often restricted to monastic gardens and written texts, Native American healing was a dynamic oral tradition, written not on parchment, but on the landscape itself. This knowledge was vast, encompassing thousands of plant species, each understood through centuries of careful observation and trial. The forests, prairies, and deserts were not merely sources of raw materials, but were viewed as complex communities of relatives, where every root and leaf held a specific gift waiting to be understood. This deep connection to the environment relied heavily on the senses, particularly the ability to read the subtle languages of scent and texture. We often forget how much information comes through our sense of smell, how a single breath of air can tell a story of the season or the soil. I'm curious, is there a specific scent from the outdoors, perhaps the smell of damp earth after a summer rain, the sweet decay of autumn leaves, or the sharp tang of pine needles that instantly makes you feel grounded and calm? I would love to read about your favorite nature connection in the comments, as these sensory memories are often where our personal relationship with the natural world begins. One of the most profound gifts from this indigenous pharmacopoeia is a flower you likely recognize today, echinacea, or the purple coneflower. While modern health aisles stock it primarily as a gentle immune booster for the common cold, the Plains tribes understood this plant as a powerful warrior against far more immediate threats. The Lakota and other nations utilized the root of the purple coneflower as a potent remedy for snake bites, applying poultices to draw out venom and reduce swelling. They chewed the root to numb the pain of toothaches and sore throats, utilizing the plant's natural anesthetic properties long before modern dentistry existed. It was a versatile medicine chest in a single flower, standing tall and resilient against the harsh winds of the prairie. However, the efficacy of these remedies was never separated from the spiritual protocol of their harvesting. In the indigenous worldview, one could not simply take from the earth without asking. There was a profound etiquette of reciprocity. A healer would rarely harvest a plant without first offering tobacco or a prayer, an act of asking permission and giving thanks to the spirit of the plant for its sacrifice. This practice, often called the honorable harvest, ensured that the medicine was gathered with a good heart and a clear mind, factors believed to be just as critical to the healing process as the chemical compounds within the leaves. If the first plant found was the only one, it was left alone, ensuring the survival of the species, a sustainable wisdom that protected these resources for generations. Deep within the eastern woodlands, another powerful ally grew in the shade: golden seal. The Cherokee and Iroquois valued its brilliant yellow root not only as a dye for clothing and weaponry, but as a supreme wash for sore eyes and skin conditions. Its bitter qualities made it an excellent digestive aid, stimulating the appetite and clearing the body of infection. Nearby, the shrub known as witch hazel offered its pliable branches and bark. The indigenous peoples discovered that boiling the stems produced a decoction that soothed swelling and inflammation, a use that was so effective it was one of the few native remedies adopted almost immediately and unchanged by European settlers. The witch, in its name, actually comes from an Old English word meaning pliable, referring to the bendy nature of the branches, which were also used for dowsing or finding water. As the timeline of history moved forward, these two worlds of botanical knowledge, the ancient text-based traditions of Europe and the vibrant spirit-based wisdom of the Americas, began to brush against one another. It was a moment of inevitable convergence where the distinct herbal maps of two hemispheres were about to overlap, forever changing how humanity approached the art of healing. One of the most transformative figures to navigate this shifting landscape was a radical English apothecary named Nicholas Culpeper. In the mid-16th century, the secrets of medicine were jealously guarded by the College of Physicians, locked away in heavy leather-bound tomes written exclusively in Latin. This ensured that the art of healing remained the province of the educated elite, leaving the common people dependent on expensive doctors they could rarely afford. Culpeper saw this as a profound moral failing. He possessed a deep conviction that the knowledge of healing belonged to everyone, and so he committed what was then considered a scandalous act of rebellion. He translated the official pharmacopoeia into English and published his own comprehensive guide, The English Physician, which eventually became known simply as Culpeper's Herbal. For the first time, a common villager could walk into the meadows, identify a simple weed like dandelion or plantain, and understand its potential to cure without paying a fee. He famously directed his readers to look to the hedgerows for their pharmacy, insisting that nature had provided a remedy for every ailment within walking distance of one's own home. He wove the stars into his practice, reviving the ancient connection between astrology and botany. He taught that every plant was governed by a specific planet: nettle by Mars, dandelion by Jupiter, and the white lily by the moon, adding a layer of cosmic poetry to the practical business of digging roots. This democratization of knowledge was carried on the back of the printing press, allowing herbal wisdom to flow out of the monasteries and universities into the hands of ordinary households, forever altering the domestic landscape. In the grand estates and manor houses of the time, this new availability of knowledge found a home in a specific sanctuary known as the still room. This was the domain of the lady of the house, a dedicated space distinct from the noisy, smoky kitchen where the quiet art of distillation took place. If you were to step inside a still room during this golden age, you would be greeted by the warm, heady aroma of drying flowers and simmering cordials. Here, women presided over copper alembics and glass retorts, capturing the essence of roses, lavender, and lemon balm in crystal-clear waters. The shelves were lined with labeled jars of syrups and conserves, glowing like amber and ruby jewels in the afternoon light.
These women were arguably the first domestic chemists, keeping handwritten books of recipes passed down from mother to daughter, detailing the precise moment to harvest marigolds or the correct way to candy violets for a winter cough. It was a time when the boundary between food and medicine was delightfully blurred, and the garden was the primary source of health. Among the many elixirs brewed in these fragrant rooms, none were more prized than those designed to bring rest to a weary mind, marking the beginning of a deep fascination with the specific category of plants we might call the sleep herbs. Foremost among these natural sedatives is a plant that has been known for centuries as nature's tranquilizer, a tall, fern-like perennial that hides its true power deep underground in its tangled, fibrous root system. This is valerian, a name derived from the Latin verb valere, meaning to be strong or to be healthy, a fitting title for an herb that has shouldered the burden of human anxiety for over 2 millennia. Unlike the sweet perfumes of the flower garden, the root of the valerian plant possesses a scent that is undeniably earthy, heavy, and pungent, an aroma that many find challenging, but which cats find peculiarly euphoric, reacting to it with the same wild enthusiasm they show for catnip. Despite its polarizing fragrance, the effectiveness of valerian in quieting the nervous system is so profound that during the Second World War, it became a staple in Great Britain, not for physical wounds, but for the invisible scars of conflict. As air raid sirens wailed over London and the nights were filled with the terrifying sounds of the Blitz, civilians turned to valerian tinctures to soothe the immense psychological strain of constant bombardment. It was dispensed to treat what was then called air raid nerves, acting as a heavy, grounding blanket for the frayed edges of the human mind, helping people find a few hours of oblivion in the midst of chaos. The plant works by influencing the levels of gamma-aminobutyric acid in the brain, a chemical messenger that helps regulate nerve impulses, effectively turning down the volume on the body's stress response and allowing the muscles to unclench. It is a reminder that in the history of herbalism, comfort often comes from the soil itself, from roots that anchor us when the world feels unstable. While valerian offers a heavy, grounding sedation, history tells us of another plant that provides rest through the power of its volatile oils, a climbing vine that is most famous for its role in brewing beer, but holds a secret identity as a powerful sleep aid. This is the story of hops, specifically the female flowers of the Humulus lupulus plant, which appear as delicate, papery green cones. Inside these cones lies a golden, resinous dust called lupulin, which contains the sedative compounds that give the plant its bitter flavor and its soporific qualities. The connection between hops and sleep was cemented in medical history through the suffering of a monarch, King George III, who was plagued by bouts of severe illness and manic insomnia that left him pacing the royal corridors, desperate for rest.
Physicians of the time, observing that field workers who harvested hops often fell asleep on the job due to the potent fumes released by the vines, devised a simple yet ingenious remedy for the king. They prescribed a hop pillow, a cushion tightly stuffed with dried hop flowers, which the king would rest his head upon. As he shifted in his sleep, the friction would crush the dried cones, releasing the sedative vapors of methylbutanol directly to the sleeper, lulling the troubled monarch into a drowsy state. It is a reminder that in the history of herbalism, comfort often comes from the soil itself, from roots that anchor us when the world feels unstable. While valerian offers a heavy, grounding sedation, history tells us of another plant that provides rest through the power of its volatile oils, a climbing vine that is most famous for its role in brewing beer, but holds a secret identity as a powerful sleep aid. This is the story of hops, specifically the female flowers of the Humulus lupulus plant, which appear as delicate, papery green cones. Inside these cones lies a golden, resinous dust called lupulin, which contains the sedative compounds that give the plant its bitter flavor and its soporific qualities. The connection between hops and sleep was cemented in medical history through the suffering of a monarch, King George III, who was plagued by bouts of severe illness and manic insomnia that left him pacing the royal corridors, desperate for rest. Physicians of the time, observing that field workers who harvested hops often fell asleep on the job due to the potent fumes released by the vines, devised a simple yet ingenious remedy for the king. They prescribed a hop pillow, a cushion tightly stuffed with dried hop flowers, which the king would rest his head upon. As he shifted in his sleep, the friction would crush the dried cones, releasing the sedative vapors of methylbutanol directly to the sleeper, lulling the troubled monarch into a drowsy state. It is a reminder that in the history of herbalism, comfort often comes from the soil itself, from roots that anchor us when the world feels unstable. While valerian offers a heavy, grounding sedation, history tells us of another plant that provides rest through the power of its volatile oils, a climbing vine that is most famous for its role in brewing beer, but holds a secret identity as a powerful sleep aid. This is the story of hops, specifically the female flowers of the Humulus lupulus plant, which appear as delicate, papery green cones. Inside these cones lies a golden, resinous dust called lupulin, which contains the sedative compounds that give the plant its bitter flavor and its soporific qualities. The connection between hops and sleep was cemented in medical history through the suffering of a monarch, King George III, who was plagued by bouts of severe illness and manic insomnia that left him pacing the royal corridors, desperate for rest. Physicians of the time, observing that field workers who harvested hops often fell asleep on the job due to the potent fumes released by the vines, devised a simple yet ingenious remedy for the king. They prescribed a hop pillow, a cushion tightly stuffed with dried hop flowers, which the king would rest his head upon. As he shifted in his sleep, the friction would crush the dried cones, releasing the sedative vapors of methylbutanol directly to the sleeper, lulling the troubled monarch into a drowsy state. It is a reminder that in the history of herbalism, comfort often comes from the soil itself, from roots that anchor us when the world feels unstable. While valerian offers a heavy, grounding sedation, history tells us of another plant that provides rest through the power of its volatile oils, a climbing vine that is most famous for its role in brewing beer, but holds a secret identity as a powerful sleep aid. This is the story of hops, specifically the female flowers of the Humulus lupulus plant, which appear as delicate, papery green cones. Inside these cones lies a golden, resinous dust called lupulin, which contains the sedative compounds that give the plant its bitter flavor and its soporific qualities. The connection between hops and sleep was cemented in medical history through the suffering of a monarch, King George III, who was plagued by bouts of severe illness and manic insomnia that left him pacing the royal corridors, desperate for rest. Physicians of the time, observing that field workers who harvested hops often fell asleep on the job due to the potent fumes released by the vines, devised a simple yet ingenious remedy for the king. They prescribed a hop pillow, a cushion tightly stuffed with dried hop flowers, which the king would rest his head upon. As he shifted in his sleep, the friction would crush the dried cones, releasing the sedative vapors of methylbutanol directly to the sleeper, lulling the troubled monarch into a drowsy state. It is a reminder that in the history of herbalism, comfort often comes from the soil itself, from roots that anchor us when the world feels unstable. While valerian offers a heavy, grounding sedation, history tells us of another plant that provides rest through the power of its volatile oils, a climbing vine that is most famous for its role in brewing beer, but holds a secret identity as a powerful sleep aid. This is the story of hops, specifically the female flowers of the Humulus lupulus plant, which appear as delicate, papery green cones. Inside these cones lies a golden, resinous dust called lupulin, which contains the sedative compounds that give the plant its bitter flavor and its soporific qualities. The connection between hops and sleep was cemented in medical history through the suffering of a monarch, King George III, who was plagued by bouts of severe illness and manic insomnia that left him pacing the royal.
Despite this chemical complexity, chamomile remains one of the safest herbs known to science, distinguished by its gentle nature. While other sedatives can be heavy or intoxicating, chamomile offers a mild, lullaby-like relaxation, making it one of the few herbal remedies traditionally deemed safe enough for teething infants and the fragile elderly alike. It is a remedy that does not force the body into submission, but rather invites it to rest. This quality of gentle persuasion, of soothing the stomach and the mind with aromatic oils, provides the perfect bridge to another vast and legendary clan of botanicals, a sprawling lineage defined by square stems and refreshing scents known as the mint family. Within this vast botanical clan, the genus Mentha stands out not just for its pervasive flavor, but for a story deeply rooted in the tragedies of Greek mythology. It is said that Minthe was once a water nymph, a creature of sparkling rivers who caught the eye of Hades, the dark king of the underworld. When his jealous queen, Persephone, discovered the affair, she punished the nymph by transforming her into the dust of the earth. Hades, unable to reverse the powerful spell of a goddess, gave Minthe a gift that would ensure she was never forgotten, a dazzling, impossible-to-ignore fragrance. Thus the humble garden mint was born, destined to be crushed underfoot, yet releasing a sweeter, stronger scent with every step, a poetic reminder of resilience that rises from the soil. This scent carries a chemical secret known as menthol, a volatile compound that plays a fascinating trick on the human nervous system. When you consume peppermint or apply its essential oil to your skin, the temperature of your body does not actually drop. Instead, menthol molecules bind to a specific receptor in your sensory neurons, the TRPM8 ion channel, which is the exact same receptor responsible for detecting freezing temperatures. It essentially convinces your brain that you are touching ice, creating a phantom chill that refreshes the body without ever changing its thermal state. This distinct cooling sensation has made peppermint one of the most widely used herbal allies in history, particularly when the internal fires of digestion need to be quelled.
The common peppermint, a natural hybrid born from the marriage of watermint and spearmint, possesses a remarkable ability to relax the smooth muscles of the digestive tract. It acts as an antispasmodic, gently unclenching the stomach and allowing food to pass with greater ease. This is why the tradition of the after-dinner mint persists in restaurants around the world. It is a remnant of a true apothecary's remedy, designed not merely to freshen breath, but to settle the system before sleep. Yet the mint family offers more than just cooling sensations. It also provides solace for the spirit in the form of lemon balm. Known botanically as Melissa officinalis, a name derived from the Greek word for honeybee, this herb has been planted for centuries to keep bees happy and close to the hive. But for humans, its purpose was even more profound. It was used to chase away melancholy and dark thoughts, acting as a gentle nervous system tropho-restorative. Its citrus-scented leaves, which smell like a blend of lemon and earth, were steeped into teas to soothe nervous tension and invite a sense of cheerful tranquility. As we leave the herbaceous green world of cooling mints and soothing balms, we drift toward a plant that transcends the vegetable garden to occupy the throne of the floral kingdom. It is a flower that has symbolized silence, secrecy, and love for thousands of years, known universally as the most famous flower in the world. Yet beneath the velvet texture of its petals and the intoxicating perfume that has inspired poets for millennia, the rose conceals a pharmacy within its bloom. While we often discard the flower once it fades, the ancient herbalists knew to wait for the fruit that follows. When the petals drift away in the autumn winds, they leave behind the rose hip, a crimson bulbous treasure that sits upon the briar like a gemstone. These hips are one of nature's most potent sources of vitamin C, containing far more of the essential nutrient by weight than even the brightest orange or lemon. This fact became a matter of national survival during the Second World War, when naval blockades prevented tropical citrus fruits from reaching the shores of Britain. The government feared an outbreak of scurvy, a disease of deficiency that had plagued sailors for centuries. In a quiet nationwide effort, volunteers were sent into the countryside hedgerows to forage for wild rose hips. Tons of these tart berries were harvested and boiled down into a thick amber syrup, a medicinal nectar that kept a generation of children healthy through the long gray winters of the war. But the healing power is not limited to the fruit. The petals themselves possess a gentle magic. They are naturally astringent, rich in tannins that tighten and tone living tissue, which is why rosewater has been splashed upon tired faces since the days of antiquity to soothe inflammation and cool the skin. To capture this essence requires patience and a touch of alchemy. It was in the ancient lands of Persia that the art of steam distillation was perfected, creating a process that turned botany into chemistry. Imagine the sensory experience of those early distilleries, where massive mounds of damask roses, harvested by hand at dawn while the dew still clung to them to preserve their moisture, were placed into copper alembics. It takes roughly 60,000 individual roses to produce just one single ounce of essential rose oil, making it a liquid as precious as gold. The steam rises through the copper neck, carrying the volatile oils, then cools and condenses, separating into the water that refreshes and the oil that heals. The rose is a generous queen, offering fruit, flower, and fragrance. However, it also offers a warning. She protects her beauty with sharp, recurved thorns, reminding us that the natural world is not always soft to the touch. In the wild, defense is necessary for survival, and the briar teaches us respect. While the rose pricks the finger to say, "keep back," other plants have evolved defenses far more sinister than a simple scratch. As we leave the safety of the manicured garden and step into the wilder, darker woods, we find that the line between a cure and a curse is often terrifyingly thin. In the deep shadows of the forest floor, where the canopy is thickest and the sunlight struggles to penetrate, we encounter the true heavyweights of the botanical world.
These are the plants known historically as the baneful herbs, a collection of greenery that commands respect through fear. Among the most infamous is Atropa belladonna, better known as deadly nightshade. To the uninitiated eye, it is a deceptively inviting plant, bearing shiny, jet-black berries that look sweet and succulent, much like wild cherries. But this plant is a master of disguise, a biological trap waiting for the unwary. The history hidden in its name reveals its dual nature. Belladonna translates from Italian as beautiful woman, a nod to a risky cosmetic practice from the Renaissance. Women would place a single drop of the plant's extract into their eyes to force the pupils to dilate, creating a wide-eyed, doe-like gaze that was considered the height of fashion, despite the blurred vision and rapid heartbeat that accompanied it. However, the first part of its scientific name, Atropa, strikes a darker chord. It refers to Atropos, one of the three fates in Greek mythology, specifically the sister responsible for cutting the thread of life. This single plant holds both the allure of beauty and the finality of the shears. Yet nature rarely deals in absolutes of good and evil. It deals in chemistry. The same alkaloids that make belladonna so dangerous are what allow it to relax muscles and stop spasms, properties that modern medicine still utilizes in controlled environments. This delicate balance is even more pronounced in the story of the foxglove. Standing tall with its spire of tubular purple-pink flowers, the foxglove looks like something from a fairy tale. Indeed, folklore tells us the flowers were worn by foxes to silence their footsteps while hunting, or used as gloves by the good folk of the woods. Beneath this whimsical exterior lies a potent cardiac glycoside. For centuries, herbalists knew that the foxglove had power over the blood and the breath, but it was a chaotic, unpredictable power. It wasn't until the late 18th century that a Scottish physician named William Withering tamed the foxglove. His discovery is one of the great romantic tales of botany. Withering was stumped by a patient suffering from dropsy, a condition we now recognize as heart failure, where the heart becomes too weak to pump effectively, causing fluid to build up in the body. Where university medicine failed, Withering found that a local wise woman in Shropshire had successfully cured the condition with a secret family recipe. Unlike many of his contemporaries who might have dismissed folk remedies as superstition, Withering investigated. He found that the woman's herbal tea contained over 20 different ingredients, but through careful deduction, he realized only one was doing the heavy lifting: the foxglove. He spent years determining the correct dosage, documenting how the plant slowed the pulse and strengthened the heartbeat. He effectively birthed the drug digitalis, which remains a cornerstone of cardiology today. In the case of foxglove, a tiny, precise amount can regulate a failing heart and grant a person decades of life. A fraction more and the heart stops completely. This was the razor's edge that traditional healers walked every day. They did not have digital scales or standardized extracts. They relied on the color of the leaf, the time of harvest, the smell of the root, and the intuition of generations passed down through oral tradition. It was a high-stakes relationship with the earth, where the difference between a miracle cure and a tragic accident was often just a single leaf. As we move away from these perilous beauties of the European woodlands, we find that not all potent plants hide their power behind sweetness or beauty. Some wear their medicine as a warning on their tongue. In the humid tropics of Asia, there grows a plant that rejects the allure of the berry for the honesty of flavor.
If we travel across the Pacific to the high-altitude cloud forests of the Andes Mountains in South America, we find another botanical sovereign that changed the fate of civilizations. For centuries, the bark of this tree was harvested for its potent ability to halt the shivering tremors of malaria, a disease that had long been a scourge to populations living in tropical climates. The secret within the bark is an alkaloid called quinine, a compound that possesses a bitterness so profound it makes the mouth pucker instantly. History tells us that in the 17th century, the Countess of Chinchon, the wife of the Spanish viceroy in Peru, fell deathly ill with the ague, the old term for malaria. It was the pulverized bark of the cinchona tree, offered by local healers, that saved her life. This event marked the introduction of quinine to the Western world, sparking a demand that would eventually reshape global trade and exploration. Before the discovery of quinine, the interior of Africa and parts of Asia were largely inaccessible to outsiders due to the high mortality rates from mosquito-borne diseases. The bark of the cinchona tree effectively became a key that unlocked the tropics, allowing explorers and, unfortunately, colonial powers to survive in regions that were previously forbidden by nature itself. Thinking about these historical cures and the simple, natural ways we try to heal our bodies brings a gentle question to mind. When you are feeling under the weather or nursing a cold, is there a specific comfort food or drink you always turn to? Perhaps it is a grandmother's soup recipe, a specific type of tea, or simply warm toast. I would love to hear about your go-to comforts in the comments section. While the medicinal efficacy of quinine was undeniable, its taste remained a significant hurdle. The powder was so intensely bitter that soldiers and travelers found it impossible to swallow on its own. To make the daily preventative dose palatable, British officers stationed in India began dissolving the quinine powder in carbonated water and sugar, creating the very first tonic water. Eventually, they added a wedge of lime to cut the bitterness further and a splash of gin to settle the nerves. Thus, the gin and tonic was born, not originally as a recreational cocktail, but as a vital medical delivery system designed to keep fever at bay. This relationship between bitterness and the body is complex. While we often shy away from bitter flavors, opting for the sweet or the salty, herbalists have long known that bitterness is a catalyst for digestion. When bitter compounds like quinine or gentian touch the tongue, they trigger a reflex via the vagus nerve that travels straight to the stomach. This signal prepares the digestive system, releasing gastric juices and enzymes before the food even arrives, ensuring that nutrients are absorbed efficiently.
It is a reminder that the body sometimes needs the challenge of bitterness to function at its best. This concept of supporting the body's overall resilience, rather than just treating a specific symptom, leads us naturally to a celebrated group of herbs known as adaptogens. The term adaptogen itself was coined relatively recently, in the mid-20th century, by scientists seeking substances that could help pilots and submariners endure extreme stress without crashing. However, the plants they studied have been used for millennia. The defining characteristic of an adaptogen is its ability to help the body resist stressors of all kinds, whether physical, chemical, or biological. Think of them as a thermostat for our internal systems. If the body is overheating with anxiety and high cortisol, an adaptogen helps cool it down. Conversely, if the body is sluggish and fatigued, the same herb can help bring energy levels back up to a baseline of health. To understand its power, one must look at where it grows. Rhodiola does not thrive in comfortable, fertile valleys. It chooses the cold, hostile, rocky crags of Siberia, Scandinavia, and the Arctic.
It clings to cliffs where biting winds and sub-zero temperatures would kill lesser plants. History tells us that the Vikings, well aware of the rigors of their environment, consumed this root to enhance their physical strength and endurance before embarking on long, grueling raids across the icy seas. Similarly, in the high Himalayas, Sherpa people have traditionally used rhodiola to support their stamina and breathing at high altitudes, where the oxygen is thin and the terrain is unforgiving. This leads to a beautiful, almost poetic hypothesis in herbalism regarding how these plants work. It suggests that when we consume plants that have survived in harsh climates, whether it is a root from the frozen tundra or a berry from the scorching desert, we are ingesting the very compounds the plant created to protect itself from that stress. We are, in a sense, borrowing the plant's hard-earned resilience. By taking in the chemistry of survival, we teach our own bodies how to weather the storms of modern life. While rhodiola carries the energy of the frozen mountains, another celebrated adaptogen brings the warmth of the tropics. Holy basil, known in India as tulsi, is perhaps the most revered herb in Ayurvedic medicine. Unlike the physical endurance associated with rhodiola, tulsi is deeply connected to spiritual and mental resilience. In many traditional Indian homes, the tulsi plant is considered sacred, often grown in a central courtyard where the family lights a lamp near it daily as a mark of devotion. It is believed to open the heart and mind, offering a sense of clarity and protection. If you have a particular tea, scent, or small daily ritual that instantly makes you feel grounded and safe, I would love to hear about it in the comments. For thousands of years, tulsi has been used to soothe what we might today call brain fog or the monkey mind, helping to stabilize emotions and promote a state of relaxed awareness. It is a reminder that resilience is not just about physical toughness, but also about maintaining a calm center amidst chaos. As we consider how these plants help us manage the chronic hum of daily stress, we must also acknowledge that sometimes the body faces more acute challenges. Beyond the general wear and tear of life, there is the sharp reality of physical pain. Nature, in its vast pharmacy, has provided for this as well, offering specific remedies that target the pathways of inflammation and agony. This brings us to the fascinating chemistry of natural pain relief, where the bark of a common tree changed the course of modern medicine forever. For thousands of years, the white willow tree, with its sweeping branches and deep roots near riverbanks, held the secret to pain relief within its bitter bark. Ancient healers, from the physicians of Greece to the tribes of North America, understood that brewing this bark into a tea could cool a fever and ease the ache of inflamed joints. However, the medicine came with a price. The active compound salicin was notoriously harsh on the stomach, often causing as much discomfort as the ailment it was meant to cure. This trade-off between relief and discomfort persisted for centuries, until the tools of the laboratory caught up with the wisdom of the forest. In the late 19th century, chemists began the work of refining nature's rough edges. They sought to isolate the pure essence of the willow's power, stripping away the fibrous plant matter to reveal the salicylic acid beneath. Yet, in its pure form, the acid was still too abrasive for daily use. The breakthrough arrived when a chemist at the Bayer Company, motivated by his father's struggle with arthritis, found a way to buffer the compound by adding an acetyl group to the molecule. The result was acetyl salicylic acid, a stable, digestible powder that would become the first truly synthetic drug to conquer the world. We know this white tablet today as aspirin, a staple of medicine cabinets across the globe, but there's a hidden botanical history in that famous name, one that points away from the willow towards a delicate cream-colored flower called meadowsweet. Meadowsweet, which grows in damp meadows and smells faintly of almonds, also contains high levels of salicylic compounds. In the botanical Latin of the time, meadowsweet was classified as Spirea ulmaria. When the new drug was named, the A was taken from acetyl and spire was derived from spirea. Thus, the most industrial of medicines still carries the ghost of a wildflower in its title. The creation of aspirin marked the definitive split between traditional herbalism and modern pharmacology. It represented a shift in philosophy. Rather than using the whole plant, where hundreds of compounds work in synergy to buffer and balance one another, science began to favor the magic bullet, the single isolated molecule that could be measured, patented, and mass-produced. While aspirin works by entering the bloodstream through digestion, nature has provided another, more ethereal pathway to healing that bypasses the stomach entirely. This pathway leads directly to the limbic system of the brain, the ancient seat of emotion and memory. It is here that we encounter the subtle, invisible power of scent, where the volatile oils of a plant can alter our mood and physiology without us ever taking a sip.
This direct link exists because the sense of smell is the most primal of our sensory capabilities, possessing a unique VIP pass through the body's protective barriers. When you inhale the aroma of a crushed leaf or a blooming flower, microscopic volatile compounds float through the nasal cavity and strike the olfactory bulb. Unlike our other senses, such as sight or touch, which must travel through the thalamus, the brain's central relay station, scent signals travel directly to the amygdala and the hippocampus. These are the ancient regions responsible for processing deep emotion and storing long-term memories. This anatomical shortcut explains why a sudden whiff of a specific herb can instantly transport you back to a childhood garden or a grandmother's kitchen before your conscious mind has even identified the smell. It is a biological wire tripping a cascade of neurochemicals, proving that the boundary between physical scent and emotional feeling is far thinner than we often imagine. I wonder if there is a particular scent that brings a comforting memory to your mind as you relax tonight. Among these aromatic powerhouses, few are as widely studied or as historically significant as lavender. In the sprawling bathhouses of the Roman Empire, lavender flowers were tossed liberally into the communal waters, not merely for their pleasant perfume, but for their perceived ability to cleanse the skin and soothe the spirit after a long day of labor or governance. Modern science has since validated what those ancient bathers felt intuitively. We now know that the primary chemical constituents of lavender oil, specifically linalool and linalool acetate, exert a tangible physiological effect on the human body. When inhaled, these compounds send signals that tell the autonomic nervous system to dial down its intensity. Clinical studies have observed that the scent alone can lower blood pressure, reduce heart rate, and decrease skin temperature, effectively acting as a mild, natural sedative that physically enforces a state of relaxation. However, the true potency of these remedies lies in their sheer concentration. To capture the full therapeutic strength of a plant in a small glass bottle, one must gather an almost unfathomable amount of organic material. An essential oil is often described as the soul or the lifeblood of the plant, representing its concentrated immune system and hormonal intelligence. To produce just a single pound of high-quality lavender essential oil,
Distillers require approximately 250 pounds of fresh lavender flowers. The ratio becomes even more staggering with more delicate petals. It takes thousands of pounds of rose petals to extract that same single pound of oil. This extreme density means that a single drop of essential oil contains the chemical equivalent of dozens of cups of herbal tea. It is nature compressed into its most volatile and powerful form, requiring us to treat these fragrant liquids with the same respect we would accord to any powerful medicine found in a pharmacy. This concentrated power extends beyond relaxation and into the realm of purification. When these oils are diffused into the air, they do more than simply mask odors, they actively alter the atmospheric environment. Many aromatic plants, such as eucalyptus, evolved their strong scents as a defense mechanism against bacteria, fungi, and pests. When we release these microscopic oil droplets into a room, we are borrowing that plant's defense system. Eucalyptus oil, rich in a compound called eucalyptol, has been shown to possess antimicrobial properties that can interact with airborne pathogens. In the Victorian era, before the advent of modern antibiotics, nurses would often place bowls of steaming water infused with strong herbal oils in sick rooms to help clear the air and support the respiratory systems of patients. It is a practice of atmospheric herbalism, treating the air itself as a medium for healing. While these potent distillations represent the high intensity of herbal medicine, some of the most profound remedies are hiding in simple sight, likely sitting on a shelf in your home right now. We often forget that the culinary spices we use to flavor our evening meals are, in fact, powerful dried herbs with long medicinal lineages. It requires only a few steps to move from the apothecary's table to the kitchen cabinet. Consider the humble jar of dried thyme sitting quietly between the basil and the black pepper. It looks like nothing more than dusty green confetti, yet inside those tiny brittle leaves lies a potent volatile oil known as thymol. This compound is so antiseptic that before the advent of modern antibiotics, thyme was a primary medicament on the battlefields of the First World War, used to sanitize bandages and prevent infection in wounds. Even today, if you look closely at the ingredients list of many commercial antiseptic mouthwashes, you will find thymol listed there, fighting bacteria in the modern bathroom just as it did in the ancient apothecary. It is a quiet guardian hiding in simple sight.
The heat you feel on your tongue is a mirror of what is happening in your blood vessels, as the capsaicin encourages circulation to flow freely to the cold extremities of the hands and feet. This brings us to the most fundamental truth of domestic herbalism, that food is our first and most accessible medicine. When you simmer a broth rich with garlic, onions, sage, and thyme, you are practicing a form of kitchen alchemy. You are extracting water-soluble minerals and essential oils, creating a restorative elixir that nourishes the body on a cellular level. It is the most accessible form of magic, available to anyone with a pot and a spoon. Yet not all medicine has been tamed and brought indoors to the safety of the spice rack. While the kitchen garden offers us sustenance, there is a wilder, more ancient energy waiting just beyond the fence. To find the next set of healers, we must step out the back door, past the manicured lawn, and walk toward the shadowed, wild edges of the forest.
In the transition zones, where the shadows of the deep woods give way to dappled sunlight, we find the star of the midsummer celebration. St. John's wort stands tall, crowned with brilliant five-petaled yellow flowers that seem to mimic the sun itself. Ancient herbalists believed this plant possessed the unique ability to trap the light of the sun, storing it within its leaves and blossoms for darker days. This creates a poetic necessity in its harvesting tradition, as folklore dictates that St. John's wort must be gathered on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, when the sun is at its absolute zenith and the plant is saturated with solar energy. The name itself, St. John's wort, links the plant to the feast day of St. John the Baptist, which falls near the solstice. In Old English, the word wort simply means plant or herb, marking this as the specific herb of the saint. Historically, bundles of these golden flowers were hung over doorways and tucked into bed frames, not just for their medicinal properties, but because people believed the stored sunlight would ward off evil spirits, lightning strikes, and the invisible forces of darkness. There is a hidden magic within the flower that reinforces this ancient belief. To the naked eye, the petals are a cheerful, bright yellow. But if you were to pinch a fresh flower bud between your thumb and forefinger, it would bleed a deep violet red oil. This transformation from solar yellow to blood red fascinated early healers. Under the doctrine of signatures, the philosophy that a plant's appearance hints at its use, this blood fluid suggested the plant could heal wounds and blood, but also that it contained a potent inner fiery spirit. This red oil contains hypericin, one of the primary compounds responsible for the plant's biological activity. For centuries, before we understood neurotransmitters, apothecaries prescribed St. John's wort for people suffering from melancholia. The logic was simple and beautiful. If a person was suffering from a lack of inner light, one should administer a plant that has spent its life absorbing the sun. Modern science has since validated this intuition, identifying mechanisms by which the plant helps maintain mood balance, effectively acting as a mild antidepressant that keeps serotonin available in the brain. It is one of the few herbal remedies that has transitioned from folklore to becoming a standard, government-approved therapy for mood support in countries like Germany. However, St. John's wort is a plant that demands respect, for it is biologically powerful. It is known to speed up the liver's detoxification pathways, clearing things out of the body so efficiently that it can actually clear away other medications before they have a chance to work. It is a reminder that herbal remedies are not merely passive teas, but complex chemical factories. Have you ever walked through a field of wildflowers and felt a sudden shift in your mood just from the color and scent of the blooms? Even the leaves of this plant hold a secret. If you hold a leaf of St. John's wort up to the sky, you will see tiny translucent pinpricks of light shining through, making the leaf look perforated. This gives the plant its Latin name, Hypericum perforatum. These are not actual holes, but glands filled with essential oils. Yet to the ancients, they looked like tiny windows letting the light pass through. As we move past the sun-loving shrubs of the forest edge, the vegetation grows denser and taller. The ground cover gives way to the true giants of the wild pharmacy. We must now tilt our heads back to look at the canopy, where the great trees stand as the oldest and most stoic guardians of herbal wisdom. As we walk beneath these towering canopies, we step into a practice that Japanese researchers formally identified in the 1980s, though its roots are as old as humanity itself. This concept does not imply washing with water, but rather immersing our senses in the forest atmosphere. It is the deliberate act of letting the woods in, soaking up the sights, the smells, and the textures of the natural world. It is a recognition that humans evolved in nature, and that our biological rhythms are still attuned to the rustle of leaves and the stillness of standing timber. Why does this immersion feel so physically restorative? It is not just the quiet or the shade, it is the chemistry of the air itself. Trees, particularly conifers like the stoic pine and the fragrant cedar, release invisible organic compounds called phytocides. These airborne essential oils are the tree's own defense system, a way to protect themselves from rotting, fungi, and insects. But when we breathe them in, a remarkable biological conversation takes place. Our bodies respond to these wood oils by significantly lowering concentrations of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Furthermore, breathing this forest air increases the number and activity of a specific type of white blood cell known as a natural killer cell. These cells are vital for our immune defense, patrolling the body to remove compromised cells. Simply walking among the pines allows us to borrow the immune system of the forest, strengthening our own resilience with every inhalation. While the air heals us internally, the physical substance of these trees has long healed us externally. If you look closely at the bark of a wounded spruce or pine, you will see the golden bleed of resin. This sticky substance, often called pitch or sap, acts as a bandage for the tree, sealing the wound against infection and pests.
For thousands of years, humans have gathered this resin to use in exactly the same way. In historical battlefields and remote homesteads alike, pine pitch was heated and applied to cuts, sores, and splinters. It is potently antiseptic, antimicrobial, and anti-inflammatory, forming a waterproof seal over broken skin that mimics the tree's own repair mechanism. It is a profound realization that the tree's method of healing its own injuries is perfectly compatible with healing ours, a testament to the biological kinship we share with the plant kingdom. Moving deeper into an old growth stand, the light changes, becoming greener and softer as it filters through layers of needles and broad leaves. The acoustic landscape shifts as well. The sharp, frenetic noises of the open world are dampened by thick carpets of moss and the rough, sound-absorbing texture of bark. This natural silence is a medicine of its own, allowing the nervous system to downshift into a state of rest and digest. Even the smell of the damp earth and decaying leaves contributes to this well-being. The soil contains a harmless bacteria called Mycobacterium vaccae, which, when inhaled in small amounts while walking, has been shown to naturally boost serotonin levels in the brain. The forest floor is, quite literally, a mild antidepressant. As we stand surrounded by such abundance, medicinal air, healing resins, and soothing earth, a sense of responsibility naturally arises. We are visitors in this living pharmacy, and the sheer generosity of the landscape demands a mindful approach. This brings us to a crucial philosophy held by indigenous cultures worldwide, often called the honorable harvest. It is the understanding that we never take the first plant we see, for it might be the last of its kind in that spot. We never take more than half, leaving enough for the forest to regenerate and for the animals who call this place home. We are reminded that the harvest is not a rite, but a relationship. This practice is known formally as wildcrafting, the ancient art of gathering plants from their natural, uncultivated habitats. Unlike agriculture, where a farmer tills the soil, plants the seeds, and controls the irrigation, wildcrafting requires the human to step out of a position of dominance and into the role of a quiet observer.
The wildcrafter must venture into the forests, meadows, and mountains where plants choose to grow on their own terms, dictated by the unique alchemy of soil, sunlight, and rainfall. It is a pursuit that demands a high level of botanical literacy, for one must be able to assess not just the identity of a species, but the vitality of the entire ecosystem before ever reaching out a hand to harvest. To ensure that these wild medicines remain abundant for future generations, ethical foragers often adhere to the rule of thirds, a guiding principle that acts as a safeguard against greed. This rule dictates that a harvester should take no more than 1/3 of the plant material found in any given patch, and often much less. The second third is left strictly for the wildlife, the deer that graze on the foliage, the birds that rely on the berries for winter fuel, and the bees that need the nectar. The final third is perhaps the most important. It is left for the earth itself, allowed to mature, flower, and cast its seeds back into the soil to ensure regeneration. This third represents the future, a guarantee that the stand will be there next year and the year after that. We see the devastating consequences when these principles are ignored in the history of American ginseng. This plant, native to the rich, dark soils of the North American hardwood forests, is prized for its slow-growing root. Because the medicinal value lies in the root, harvesting it necessitates digging up and killing the entire plant. Ginseng is a patient elder of the woods. It requires deep shade and can take anywhere from 5 to 10 years just to reach reproductive maturity. Due to high commercial demand, aggressive overharvesting in the 19th and 20th centuries stripped vast mountainsides bare, pushing this potent botanical to the brink of extinction in many of its native territories. The story of ginseng serves as a somber reminder that nature's timeline is measured in seasons and decades, moving much slower than the speed of human consumption. This cautionary tale reinforces why true stewardship is about reciprocity. It changes the dynamic from simple extraction to a mutual exchange. The conscientious herbalist does not just take, they give back. When harvesting a root, they might replant the crown or carefully press the red berries into the damp earth nearby to help the colony expand. They act as guardians of the patch, perhaps removing invasive weeds that are choking out the native medicinals or clearing fallen debris. There is often a moment of pause before the harvest, a silent expression of gratitude to the land for its provision. This mindfulness ensures that the relationship remains circular, a continuous loop of care. As we embrace these older ways of thinking, we are currently witnessing a profound resurgence of this respectful connection to the land. This resurgence is evidenced by a statistic that is as humbling as it is vast, reminding us that for the majority of the human family, the herbal path has never actually been abandoned. It is estimated by the World Health Organization that approximately 80% of the world's population relies on traditional medicine, predominantly herbal remedies, for their primary healthcare needs. In the industrialized West, we view herbalism as an alternative, a secondary option explored only when conventional methods feel impersonal or harsh. Yet for billions of people across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, the use of roots, barks, and leaves is not alternative at all. It is simply medicine, the first line of defense and the most trusted source of healing. This global majority understands that health is not merely the absence of disease, but a harmonious balance maintained by the subtle chemistries of the plants growing around them. As we in the modern world awaken to this reality, we are beginning to see the green tendrils of this ancient knowledge weaving their way back into our daily lives and imaginations. It invites us to consider our own potential role in this living lineage. If you had the space and time to cultivate just one healing ally in a quiet corner of your home or on a sunny windowsill, perhaps a pot of calming lemon balm for rest or a vibrant patch of peppermint for digestion, what plant would you choose to grow?
I invite you to share your dream botanical addition in the comments, as even the mere visualization of a personal garden can be a soothing exercise for the mind. This personal curiosity is increasingly mirrored in the clinical environments of modern healthcare, creating a fascinating bridge between the laboratory and the garden. We are currently witnessing the rise of integrative medicine, a holistic approach that does not reject the advancements of modern science, but rather seeks to marry them with the wisdom of the past. In these forward-thinking clinics, it is becoming common for a physician to discuss nutrition and stress management alongside prescriptions, often recommending standardized herbal extracts like St. John's wort for mood or ginger for nausea. This integration validates what herbalists have known for centuries, that the body is a complex, interconnected system that responds profoundly to the complex, interconnected chemistry of plants. The sterile white coat and the green leaf are finding a way to coexist, acknowledging that while emergency medicine saves lives, herbal medicine builds health. In a culture that prizes speed, instant relief, and rapid fixes, the herbal path demands a drastically different tempo. Plants do not rush, they unfurl slowly in accordance with the seasons, and their medicine often works in a similarly gentle, cumulative manner. Adopting herbal remedies encourages us to slow down and listen to the subtle whispers of our own bodies, rather than waiting for the loud alarm bells of illness. It changes the definition of healing from a battle against symptoms to a journey toward balance. Preparing a loose-leaf tea, for instance, requires time, boiling the water, steeping the leaves, waiting for the liquid to cool. This ritual creates a pause in the day, a moment of mindfulness that is in itself a form of medicine for the frayed nervous system. This shift in tempo has spilled out of the clinics and back into our neighborhoods, fueling a vibrant return to home gardens and community herbalism. Across bustling cities and quiet suburbs, people are reclaiming their agency over their own well-being by planting medicinal gardens. There is a profound empowerment in being able to step outside, harvest a few leaves of sage for a sore throat, or dig up a dandelion root for a bitter tonic. It transforms the patient from a passive recipient of care into an active participant in their own health. Community gardens are becoming hubs of this knowledge exchange, where elders share cuttings and recipes with younger generations, re-establishing the oral traditions that once kept communities healthy. This grassroots movement is not just about treating ailments, it is about reweaving the social fabric, grounded in the shared love of the soil and the healing abundance it provides. As we stand back to admire this vast, living tapestry of herbal knowledge, we see that the threads of history, chemistry, and spirit are inextricably woven together, creating a picture far more complex and beautiful than any single discipline could explain alone. It becomes clear that the distinction between the mystical and the medical is often just a matter of perspective, a shift in the light that reveals the same truth in different forms. The profound silence of the deep forest, where the first root was pulled from the earth by a trembling hand, echoes still in the sterile quiet of the modern laboratory,
where alkaloids are isolated and measured. We realize that our relationship with the plant kingdom is not merely one of utility, where we take what we need to survive, but one of deep symbiotic kinship that goes back to the very origins of life. We have co-evolved under the same sun, our biological rhythms tuned to the same seasons, our very breath dependent on the green exhalation of the leaves that surround us. This journey has carried us from the flickering firelight of Paleolithic caves, where herbs were cast into the flames to banish unseen spirits, through the quiet stone-walled monastic gardens of the Middle Ages, meticulously ordered by prayer and parchment, and finally into the bright clarity of contemporary science. Yet, despite the vast distances of time and technology, the fundamental truth remains unchanged. The earth heals. There is a profound comfort in knowing that while civilizations rise and fall, the chamomile still blooms in the cracks of the pavement, and the willow still bends over the river, offering its bark to the water. The green world possesses a patience that transcends our hurried human sense of time, a slow vegetative wisdom that invites us to slow down, to listen, and to rest. We are reminded that every cup of tea is a liquid history, and every soothing balm is a memory of the soil. If this journey through the quiet garden of history has helped you find a moment of peace, or if you simply wish to continue exploring the soothing, educational corners of our world in future stories, I invite you to subscribe and join us again. There are many more landscapes to explore and many more calming facts to uncover together in the stillness of the night. But for now, let the complexities of botany, classification, and history fade into a soft, indistinct hum. Picture the vast, silent network of roots beneath the soil, holding the earth together in a dark, warm embrace, stretching out endlessly in the dark. The plants are breathing. The sap is rising and falling like a slow, heavy tide. And the world is alive with a gentle, healing magic that requires nothing from you but your presence. Let that ancient, verdant peace wrap around you, settling over your thoughts like a soft blanket of moss as the leaves settle into stillness and the forest guides you into a deep, restful sleep.